كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء، وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء، وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء، وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء، وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء، وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء، وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء، وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء، وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك العصم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء، اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها، اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك، وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك، وأسألك بجودك وكرمك أن تدنيني من قربك، وأن توزعني شكرك، وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع، أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا، وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك السؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته، وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك، وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك، وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك، ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا، ولا لقبائحي ساترا، ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك. ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي، وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي، كم من قبيح سترته، وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلته، وكم من عثار وقيته، وكم من مكروه دفعته، وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم عظم بلائي وأفرط بي سوء حالي، وقصرت بي أعمالي، وقعدت بي أغلالي، وحبسني عن نفعي بعد آمالي، وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها، ونفسي بخيانتها، ومطالي يا سيدي. فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي، ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري، ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي، ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي، وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا، على في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي ومولاي وربي، من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي، أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي، ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي، فغراني بما أهوى، وأسعده على ذلك القضاء، فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدودك، وخالفت بعض أوامرك، فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاؤك، وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا، مستغفرا منيبا، مقرا مذعنا معترفا. لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني، ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري، غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري، وارحم شدة ضري، وفكني من شد وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني، ورقة جلدي، ودقة عظمي، يا من بدع خلقي، وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي. هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالفي برك بي، يا إلهي وسيدي وربي. أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد من طوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولهج بي لساني من ذكرك، واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك. هيهات، أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيته، أو تبعد من أدنيته. أو تشرد من آويته، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمته. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي، أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدة، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقة، وبشكرك مادحة، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة، وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعة، وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنة. ما هكذا الظن بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا رب، وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها، وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه، قليل مكثوح، يسير بقاؤه، قصير مدته. فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه، ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض يا سيدي، فكيف بي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين، يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو، أو لما منها أضج وأبكي، ولما منها أضج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدته، أم لطول البلاء ومدته. فلئن صيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك، وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك، وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك، فكيف أصبر على فراقك؟ وهبني صبرت على حر نارك، فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك؟ أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك؟ فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا، لئن تركتني ناطقا لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآمنين، ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولأبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولأنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين، يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته وهو يضج إليك ضجيج مؤمل لرحمتك ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك ورأفتك ورحمتك أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقه أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا ربه أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عاملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك فباليقين أقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كان لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين وأن مخلد فيها المعاندين وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عملته كتمته أو أعلنته أخفيته أو أظهرته وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم وبرحمتك أخفيته وبفضلك سترته وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلته، أو إحسان فضلته، أو بر تنشره، أو رزق تبسطه، أو ذنب تغفره، أو خطأ تستره. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي. يا ربي يا ربي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وأعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورة، وبخدمتك موصولة، وأعمالي عندك مقبولة، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا، وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي، يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي. يا ربي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، قو على خدمتك جوارحي، واشدد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين، وأسرع إليك في المبادرين، وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرده، ومن كادني فكده، واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك، وأقربهم منزلة منك، وأخصهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك، وجد لي بجودك، واعطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وأقلني عثرتي، واغفر زلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك، وأمرتهم بدعائك، وضمنت لهم الإجابة. فإليك يا ربي نصبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني مناي، ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي، وألفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي. يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غناء ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وسلاحه البكاء يا سابغ النعم يا دافع النقم يا نور المستوحشين في الظلم يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بي ما أنت أهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Welcome, everyone, to the Fatemiyyah program. Alhamdulillah, it's been a while since we've got together. There's just a few announcements before we start the program, inshallah. We kindly ask that you register before you come to the program, just so we know how much food to bring, inshallah. So for every day, so tomorrow and the day after, inshallah. Also, we would like, if anyone would like to volunteer, we would really appreciate that. Just let one of the people in charge know, and inshallah we could really benefit from your help. Inshallah, today there's going to be food, but it's going to be to go. So we'll be handing out boxes on the way out, and there's also some snacks outside. Some of the mu'mineen brought some snacks. So please recite Fatiha for the marhumin of the sponsors, as well as all the marhumin, inshallah. And with that, please invite Sayyid Abbas Razavian with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Before we begin, let's recite Fatiha for all the marhumeen, especially Sayyid Mustafa Akbar, grandfather of Brother Ali Akbar, inshallah, and for all the marhumeen, inshallah, in this community. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Inshallah, the reward of this majlis will be given to the marhumeen, especially Sayyid Mustafa Akbar, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala ashraf al-anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Sayyidina wa Mawlana Abil Qasim al-Mustafa Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى يوم الدين. The time period of Fatemiyyah is the time period about 75 or 95 days after the passing away of the Holy Prophet of Islam, known to be the martyrdom and shahadat of Lady Fatima, as-Sayyidah Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. Some say the difference is that Sab'een or Tis'een, for example, just didn't have the dots. So some read it as Sab'een, some read it as Tis'een. We also have other narrations, like 40 days, for example. But it's very sad to talk about this occasion because the specific day that she was martyred amongst us is not really known. That she has been placed to rest is not known for us. When we think of the Imams of Baqi, we think how madhlum they are, that they don't have shrines. Imam Hassan, for example. How madhlum was Imam Hassan? But even more madhlum than Imam Hassan was his mother, Az-Zahra alayhi salam. That we don't even know when you go to Medina, what kind of feeling is that? You don't even know which way to face to do ziyarah. Should I face Baqi? Should I face towards the Prophet in Medina, Prophet's shrine? I don't know. So these are all signs of the madhlumiyat of this holy lady, that at the age of 18, she stood up against injustice. She stood up and chose what was right for haqq and stood up for haqq. And if we want to talk about one of the distinguishing attributes of Lady Az-Zahra alayhi salam, one that we can talk about, inshallah we can benefit from, is that she had this ability, this great ability to see and distinguish what to do. Many of us, we have concepts, we have book knowledge, we read the Quran, we read the Hadith, but sometimes we don't know what to do, especially when it comes to major issues, sometimes in political issues and social issues and family issues, individual issues. We don't know what to do. But Lady Fatima Zahra knew exactly what to do because she was Hikima, because she was wise. And that is what a wise person does. A wise person gets it. Either the concept, they understand the concepts, and they have hikmah, nadari, they have practical hikmah. And a wise person also has hikmah, amaliyah. It has practical, not only theoretical wisdom, has practical wisdom, meaning they can distinguish the mistaq, they can distinguish the instance. Let me be a little bit clear. Many of us, we know certain actions are bad or good. There's no problem. In theoretical, we know dhulm is bad. But do we know that this specific instant is dhulm, is oppression? Or is what I just did right now oppression or not? We get confused, right? So a lot of times when it comes to mistaq and doing tatbiq and be able to differentiate between relating what I learned to my practical life, I have problems. So for us to understand, inshallah, the life of Lady Fatima Zahra and understand how beautifully she understood what to do. See, again, someone could say this, and even though a lot of times people say, be careful when you talk about issues and history and when it comes to beliefs, do not create division. But remember, when we talk about these issues, we're not saying that you should not live in harmony or you should not have mutual coexistence with your Sunni brothers. Of course, we say that in Imams from Ahlul Bayt, we understand this is what they wanted and that fitna is not something good. But when it comes to history or when it comes to beliefs, does wahda mean here and unity mean you should give up the wilayat of Imam Ali? No. Does wahda mean that you should give up your belief in Lady Zahra alayhi salam? No. And that she didn't do allegiance, she didn't do bay'ah, and she chose another Imam? That you should hide this and be ashamed to talk about it? No, it doesn't mean this. So when it comes to the life of the Imams, there are specific places, things in history where people are kind of very sensitive when you talk about. But to make this clear, what we're talking about is that when it comes to beliefs, when it comes to aqa'id, we are mas'ul. We have in responsibility towards ourselves, towards the community. It's a reality. And we do not want to engage in these debates in any way or form to harm someone else or to, do it in a way that you're hurting someone else's feelings. It just keeps going down, sorry. Maybe if it goes up. If it can go up more, yeah. Thank you. Inshallah. If it stays, yeah. Thank you. So we should do it in a way that is intellectual, these debates in history. It should be in a way that we are, removing ourselves from the taklif that we have. And now, this day and age, many people are willing to understand in an intellectual manner what happened, read the books, show the books. Everyone's open, they're discussing so many things. Unfortunately, if you ask, for example, many of the followers of Ahlul Bayt, what happened in the Battle of Jamal? They don't even know because it's a sensitive topic, Jamal, for example. They don't know what happened and what was Imam Ali's reaction, for example. In the same way, the life of Lady Fatima sometimes breaks our heart. We share things for people to share, and it has the most minimal, in the best way it's said, but they get afraid to mention these things. So that's not being Fatimi. And remember, we have a mas'uliyah, we have a responsibility towards Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. And this doesn't mean that, no, that with our brothers in Islam, with our Sunni brothers, that we, of course, we have mutual coexistence, we have respect, we live with one another, especially in the U.S. when we're the minority. We have, we have good relations, but in the proper way, in the proper way, in whatever means you think is best. But haqq has to be said. Doesn't mean you can't say haqq. So Lady Fatima alayhi salam, imagine, someone would say this, look, after Imam Ali alayhi salam, they are doing salat, right? They are doing saum. Are they taking that away from the ummah? No. They're taking the zahir, the apparent of meaning of Islam is being protected. So why would Lady Fatima, when you look at Imam Hussein alayhi salam in his revolution, he was fighting against Yazid that would introduce beer. We have hadith, he introduced beer to the Muslims. And he didn't have any respect for the zahir of religion, even though he was the Khalifa. But this time period is different. There's zahid, reciting Quran, they're fighting in the way of Allah. There's no, apparently when you look and examine at the performance of the Muslims, it looks, and the zahir looks good. But it takes a hakim person to differentiate between two things. One that is aham and one that is muhim. What is aham and the most important, a hakim person understands. Someone that has true and in-depth knowledge, a wise person. A foolish person will take muhim over aham. She sought aham is because of the narrations that Islam has been built upon 5 things. And none of these 5 things, even salat and fasting, is as important as wilayat. And even our scholars, because of this hadith, they say if you move to an area, for example, and this is an interesting question for us, if you move to an area where you can't pray, you can't fast anymore, you can't do any of your main obligations, but you lose wilayat, is that more important? Or to have a place where you have wilayat of Ahlul Bayt, but you lose the other 4? Which one is more important? It's a very difficult question maybe. But examining this hadith, and fuqaha have examined it, they say wilayat is so important, even though I'm not saying not to pray, not to do salat or fast. No, if you had to just choose. They do this in the Babu Tazahum, in the chapter when there's Tazahum and 2 things contradict, and you only can choose one. It's a theoretical question. It's not really practical because, of course, the lover of Ali alayhi salam does the best prayer and fasting. I'm just saying if someone had to choose between salat and saum and other wajibat and wilayat of Ahlul Bayt. According to the Fuqaha interpretation of hadith, wilayat outweighs. If a person has to move to somewhere where he wouldn't have wilayat anymore, he would have to choose the area where even he couldn't do any of his ahkam, but he would have the correct belief over the ahkam. So wilayat outweighs others. So these are things that it takes someone. How can someone find these things out? By being hakim, by having knowledge, by having theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge. Let's talk a little bit about hikmah. Inshallah, these 3 nights we'll be talking about this topic. Some say hakim maybe to a doctor, hakim. Or some say hakim to a philosopher. But that's obviously not the correct definition, because hakim, sometimes we have words in Islamic terminology that isn't in the Quran or isn't used in the Quran and hadith that way. We want to understand how the meaning of hikmah is in the Quran or in the hadith. These 20 instances of wisdom. When you look at the word fiqh, for example, of faqih, when you look at hadith, faqih is not being used as a jurisprudent, a jurist. Faqih is used as someone that understands, has deep knowledge. It's used differently. So the terminologies that sometimes we have today are much different than what we had 1400 years ago. So hakim, we say someone is a hakim, it doesn't mean necessarily they're a philosopher. It doesn't mean they're necessarily they're a doctor. Hakim also, some say it's the relationship between 2 things. When someone understands the relationship between 2 things, they call him hakim. There's multiple definitions Unfortunately, it's not very clear for us when you look at the tafsir. Some have made it a little bit more clear than the others, but it's not very, very clear. What's your interpretation of Hakim, wise? Compared to, then we would ask, what is it, the difference between Hikmah and wisdom, for example, and knowledge? Some say knowledge that stops you from committing evil. A knowledge that is like Hakam, it stops you. Or some would say it's like kind of like muhkam, something that's strong, and it comes from your beliefs. You could say multiple definitions. But what a nice definition is, and that others have incorporated, is that it is like adl. What does adl mean? Adl means to put things in their specific place in order for the reality of the matter, or in order to maximize something. Allah is Hakim, Al-Hakim. Why is He Hakim? In Kalam they say because He puts things in their proper place. You look at the universe, you look at creation, you look at the way He organizes and rules over mankind. He puts everything in their place. Some person He gives them a little rizq. Some person He gives them a lot of rizq. Both of these is in their benefit. That person that got a little bit rizq, he has more taqarrub and closeness to God because that was good for him at that time during his life. Someone has a lot of rizq, when I say like monetary rizq, and that was good for him. There's narration, some people, if they don't receive that amount of financial or that amount of monetary funds, then they might lead into kufr. One person, he can bear it. He has the patience, he can bear it. And that's his test. So Hakim doesn't mean that he makes all of these the same. That's not wise. What's wise is to give each one how much would cause them to come close to you, because that's the purpose of creation. The purpose of creation isn't just everyone to live happily just for 60, 70, 80 years. The purpose is that taqarrub and that kamal, that perfection. So each person has their own tests and trials, and Allah is Huwa al-Hakim, you could say, because He puts everything in the right place to maximize the potential of each thing. Just like when it comes to vegetation, for them to become maximized, in the animal world they can become maximized, and when it comes to humans, that relationship He has with us. Allah is Hakim, He is wise, because He doesn't tell us what's going to happen to us in the hereafter yet. He doesn't give us the answer. If we had the answer already, imagine you already had the answer. Everyone here, inshallah, go to heaven. I don't have the answer. I'm just saying, inshallah. But if you had the answer, what did you start sharing it with everybody? It would be foolish. It would not be Hakim. It wouldn't be wise. Hey, brother, I want to have good news for you. Come here. I just found out you're going to heaven. Or, hey, you treated me. Did you know you're going to hell? Why did you do this to me? You would start using it all the time. You would be unwise. Because that person that's going to get that information that is good, that he's going to heaven, he's going to stop trying as much. Say, I passed. Okay, good. Alhamdulillah. No more salat fajr. No more. Why do I need to come to Dua Kumain to listen or make du'as? And I'm going to heaven. Let me have a little vacation first, and then I'll come back, inshallah. But that person that's doing evil, he's going to lose hope. You're going to hell. Then why would I stop trying? So the relationship that Allah has, and the way that He speaks to us, the way He treats us, it's all in the Hakim way, Huwa al-Hakim, to maximize our potential. If you give Him the answer, you're going to spoil who you could have become. You could have, instead of 10 degrees of perfection, 10%, you could have become, say, 50, 80% of perfection. So it ruins it. In the same way, and when He wants to answer our du'as, He's Hakim. He keeps this consistency, the cause and effect. He doesn't break the cause and effect. Your dua is answered. Allah give me rizq. Allah gives me money. Gold doesn't come down from the sky and fall, next to us, or fall right in our pockets, for example. No, in a mysterious and subtle way, And it's so subtle that sometimes you forget that that was from your dua that happened. And you get, say, something happens, you get a nice gift, you get a nice job, or you save money somewhere, you find a nice coupon in the mail, I don't know, and you save a lot of money. So it works in a subtle way, same way that when you get your du'as answered, so much that you think, I did it myself. So Allah is Hakim because everything is being put in their place and it's maximizing things for us. So we can say the same thing when it comes to insan, because insan is also Hakim. When you look at stories of the prophets did, yu'allamuhumul kitab, they taught the people the book, and they also taught hikmah, separate than ta'aleem. Two different words in the Quran. They taught them the book and what to read in the book, and they taught them hikmah. So prophets themselves have to be Hakim for them to teach hikmah. The message of the prophets is also wise. When you look at the Quran is Hakim. And those that have more uns, those that have a better connection with the Quran and understand the Quran and practice upon the Quran, they are Hakim. So see what a beautiful, alhamdulillah, religion we have, that it is the religion of hikmah and wisdom. And you can say that definition of hikmah can be, the realities, understanding realities and understanding things to do in a way that it maximizes your potential would be Hakim. Your actions are in the right place, your beliefs are in the right place. How can beliefs be in the right place? Because you have things that are reality. In Islam, we believe in waqi'. We believe in a reality. We believe in al-haqq. That haqq is one. Reality is one. So when you align your beliefs with that, you're Hakim. When you align your actions, and this comes now to practical, and some of the definitions we gave, to practical hikmah, then you are Hakim. Brothers and sisters, there are many people that they have a lot of knowledge of Islam, but they don't have that practical knowledge, that ability to understand the mistaq, that ability to understand the instance. A lot of times we understand the mafhum, the concept. We don't understand the instance. Can you tell me a time in our lives, inshallah we'll see such a time, that understanding the instance is very important? It's going to be detrimental for us. Not just the concept, the instance, the mistaq. During the zuhur of Imam Zaman. Because there we're not looking at the mafhum, the concept of imamat. We're looking at that person. Who is he? Is this the imam or not? We all have to make that decision by ourselves. We all have to do and understand the mistaq, the example of imamat. We know as imamats in the Quran and the hadith, they can help you. Yes, this will give you knowledge. And you have knowledge that it's the son of Imam Askari alayhi salam. You have knowledge of some of his attributes and how he's like. But at the end, it's that hikmah, you can say, that gives you that ability to say, this is my imam. Many people are worried about this. I get questions sometimes a lot about this, that how do I know when the imam returns, that is the imam? So you have to have mafhum knowledge, hikmah nadari, and you also have to have that mistaq knowledge, to be able to distinguish things and have that basira, to be able to identify the imam, put them all together and make a decision. I said this story, but I think this is a good story to tell. During the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam, the Prophet of Islam, a group of followers of the Prophet came to him and they wanted to know who the Imam was and the successor of the Prophet. This is Ghaybatul Nu'mani. It's in one of the books of the Ghaybat of Imam Zaman, the hadith. It's from a hadith book. And the Prophet gave them that theoretical knowledge and gave them some verses of the Quran about Hablullah, the rope of Allah, which is theoretical. But they wanted to know who exactly is the successor. That's what, we want to know, inshallah, during that time. Who is it? So the Prophet had them walk amongst the rows in Salat and to identify it by themselves, by their practical wisdom. They were worshippers. If they were not worshippers from Yemen, the Prophet wouldn't have had them do this. They had an ability that al-mu'min yanduru binurillah. A mu'min sees through the eyes of Allah, for the light of Allah. They can distinguish things. They have hikmah. They're wise. So they go across and they come back and say, is this the successor? And they were convinced. And the Prophet basically asked them, how did you know? He said that they reminded us of our father. He reminded us of our father, and that our knees wanted to go, but they could not go forward anymore. And later on, they became the lovers and followers of Imam Ali. Many of them were shaheed in the Battle of Siffin, because they were able to distinguish and find out and use that ability, that hikmah they have, to be able to find. One of the most important obligations and responsibility they have is to follow the successor of the Holy Prophet. So us, in the same way, when you think about hikmah, we need to strengthen that ability to find out what to do. And we have to understand, in terms of political level, social level, individual level, family level, what is the right thing for me to do? We have a lot of choices. We have a lot of things that are wajib, a lot of things that are mustahab. But that wise person is that person that does the most important, chooses the aham. For example, sometimes there might be times where being at home is even better than being in Du'a Qumay. There might be times. There might be times where, for you, coming to Du'a Majlis, Du'a Qumay, Majlis Fatemiyyah is better. There's no book that's going to say, no, always do this. It's not a 0 or 1, You have to find that answer for yourself, for you individually. What should I do when I come with these decisions I have to make? And that is why the debate of hikmah is so important. A hakim person knows. They're wise. They're not foolish. They won't leave their family stranded and then come to Du'a Qumay, for example. Or they won't just stick out with the family all the time and miss out on some of the benefits of, say, the hadith in the lecture, the Quran, or seeing the community, or they'll bring their family, for example. So that hakim person has to be very detailed and think and ask Allah. But something very interesting, and some of the characteristics of hikmah is that the Quran identifies it, and I ask you this question: is hikmah acquired by ourselves, or is it given to us? Is it gifted to us? Is it granted to us? Look in 269 in Baqarah, 269. If you want to know one of the verses where hikmah is debated a lot, it's in this verse, 269. One of the reasons is too, by the way, if you notice, a lot of the concepts that are earlier in the Quran, in Surah Al-Fatiha, Baqarah, they're not going to be repeated later on too much. It's going to go to page Falani, the Mufassirs. I already talked about this, because they're doing the tafsir tartibi in sequential order. So if a concept comes up first, try to find that verse that has it earlier or has it clearer than finding it, say, later on in the Quran. And if you tend to do this of tafsir, this happened to me, try to attend the ones that do the beginning of the Quran. When you come to the later part, there's like, we already talked about this, we already talked about that, we already talked about this, and you don't gain much. And they talk about other things instead. So make sure you go from the beginning, inshallah. In Surah Baqarah, يُؤْتِ الْحِكْمَةِ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. God gives wisdom to whom He wills. وَمَنْ يُؤْتَ الْحِكْمَةِ فَقَدْ أُوتِيَ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. So the first characteristic from this verse about hikmah is that Allah grants it. It's something given by God. Now, there are conventional means. Studying, Allah will open the doors for you to study more, but also that deep wisdom where you can be able to identify the exact duty that you have. Inshallah, that will come with practice. That will come with your experience, and that will be given to you by Allah. Just like, say, a good salat good ziyarat is given to you by Allah to rizq, hikmah will be given to you. And things will become clear for you. You don't even know where it came from. You say, where did my hikmah come? Did it come from this book? No, I don't even know where it came from. I just know I have it, or I have more of it. So, and I'm not saying I'm Hakim here. If I say that, I'm just giving example. يؤتي الحكمة من يشاء ومن يؤتى الحكمة فقد أوتي خيرا كثيرا. The Quran identifies, again says يؤتى, given, and it's majhul in this tense. So, وَمَنْ يُؤْتَى الْحِكْمَةِ, and whoever is given and granted hikmah, he has been given verily much good, خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. So the second characteristic of hikmah is it is khair kathir, very good. It's a lot of khair in it. If you work for hikmah, it's worth it. If you spend time to develop your hikmah, it's worth it. If you become a wise person, it's worth it. But the dunya opposite is mata'ul qalil. Is a small mata' for you, a place of enjoyment, a small place that you like, very small. It's qalil, the dunya. But hikmah is kathir. So does it make sense from this formula, if one is qalil and one is kathir, for you to give up the qalil a little bit to gain some kathir? Yes. So if a person's, sacrifices his life, spends his time, spends his money, spends from the dunya to gain hikmah, he will be given utiya khayran kathira. It will be very good for him. وَمَا يُذَكَّرُ إِلَّا الْأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. So you see from this beautiful verse that Allah is Hakim. He gives the prophets hikmah. And a person that is Hakim is a person that puts things in their place. He understands Allah as the Lord, and he understands the highness, the loftiness of God. And Hakim at the same time, the lowliness of himself, of the abd. He puts things in their place. When we look at the life of, we'll wrap up inshallah, when we look at the life of Sayyidah Fatimah alayhi salam, we say she is Hikima at the age of 18. She identified the problem, she knew the solution, and it was perfect. She came and she spoke in Fadak, for khutbah Fadakiyah in the masjid. She spoke using multiple verses of Quran, talking about Tawheed, talking about different things. But when you look at her life, you see a Hakim person does what is wise. She chose, what are the choices that Lady Fatima alayhi salam made? She chose the hereafter over the dunya. She chose the satisfaction of God over the satisfaction of people. This is what Lady Fatima alayhi salam did. It caused her to gain broken ribs. It caused them to attack her house. It caused her to have Muhsin aborted. But she is Hakima. She chose the hereafter over the world. Because a Hakim person sees infinity compared to something that's temporary and will choose infinity every day. From the beginning she was Hakima. When she was married to Imam Ali alayhi salam. And Imam Ali, is one of the best worshippers of God. Who can be a kuf with Ali alayhi salam? And when describing her, Imam Ali said, "Ni'mal aun ala ta'atillah." She is the best helper on God's obedience. She helped Ali ibn Abi Talib in the obedience and worship of Allah. So she chose the hereafter over the world. She worshipped Allah so much that they say about her, "Man kana ma kana fi dunya a'abbad min Fatima, Hasan Basri." Nobody worshipped Allah as much as Lady Fatima alayhi salam. She gave the food of herself, her family, to people that would knock at their door and would starve for 1 day, some say 3 days, and would fast and not have food. That's Hikimah. Hikima is someone that thinks about others before they think of themselves. She would say, Ad-dar, Ad-jar, thumma ad-dar. She would think about her neighbor before thinking of her family. But look at this. This is the last instance I want to give you about her hikmah. In the narration, it says that Salama entered the house of Lady Fatima alayhi salam. This is after her injuries. This is after setting her house on fire. And this is towards the end of her life. دخلت سلمى على فاطمة صلى الله عليه وسلم فقالت لها كيف أصبحت عن ليلتك يا بنت رسول الله. How did your night become day? How did morning come to you? Lady Fatima could say, I didn't sleep last night. Usually when we ask, what happened? I couldn't sleep. My broken ribs didn't allow me to sleep. Every breath that I took, it was punishing me. How does a person that has broken ribs sleep on the ground and sleep on one side or the other? She did not talk about this. She said she has pains, but these were not her pains. She is Hikima. قالت أصبحت بين كمدي وكرب. Morning came to me while I was in grief. What was the grief of Fatima? Her physical injuries? The loss of her child Muhsin? A child that if he was born, how many Sadat we would have that would be Muhsini? We have Hassani Sadat, Hosani Sadat. How many Muhsini? She didn't mention this. She didn't mention the fact that usually when someone passes away, the community comes, the ummah should come and send condolences to her and say, we're sorry for their loss. Sorry that you lost your father. Sorry that your father is Rasulullah, the best of the prophets, and you have lost him. None of this. What her karb and karb was. The Hikima sees what in reality puts things in their place, identifies the aham, the most important. فقد النبي والظلم الوصي. This is my grief. The loss of the Prophet, not of my father, the loss of the Prophet. How much Lady Zahra alayhi salam, the Prophet of Islam, would give her respect while she was alive. In even Sunni hadith we have, he would stand, he would kiss her, stand and give her his own place, the Prophet of Islam. Faqd al-Nabi, she misses her father, 18 years old, the only living offspring of the Prophet of Islam. وَالظُّلْمِ الْوَصِي, and the dhulm that happened to Ali alayhi salam. These things are hurting me. Fatima Zahra, that's physically injured and is becoming shahida because of these injuries, is talking about faqdun nabi wa dhulm al-wasi. We have lost the messenger of Allah, we have lost the teachings and the mubayyin of the Quran, and also the wasi now is there's dhulm to him. Hutika wallah hijabu. I swear by Allah, the hijab of the wasi has been dishonored. Not that I have been dishonored. The hijab of the wasi has been dishonored. من أصبحت إمامته مغصوبة على غير ما شرع الله في التنزيل. Morning has come to me in a way that a person that has their imam has been usurped, the imam that was identified and made clear by Allah. في التنزيل in the Quran وَسَنَّهَا النَّبِي في التأويل, and that the Prophet of Islam made clear. So this is the hikmah of Lady Fatima alayhi salam, and the wisdom that Lady Fatima had, and the same wisdom that she did wasiyat to Ali alayhi salam, to dafinni fil layl, to bury me at night, Ali. وَلَا تُعْلَمْ أَحَدٍ, and do not tell anybody. Secretly bury me, Ali. This is my wasiyat to you. Hikima. She didn't want anyone to know where she is buried. Sallallahu alayki ya Fatima Zahra, Sallallahu alayki ya Fatima Zahra, Sallallahu alayki ya Fatima. Ya Allah, grant us hikmah, inshallah, like the hikmah that you have granted to the prophets and successors and to Lady Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, inshallah. Ya Allah, give us knowledge of the book and sunnah, inshallah. Ya Allah, give us the truth, to the courage to stand for the truth and reality, inshallah. Ya Allah, those that have passed away from our family members, give them rahmah, inshallah, especially Mustafa Akbar, inshallah. Ya Allah, we ask you to forgive our sins, accept our majalis. Don't take us away from the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, and expedite the return of our Imam, inshallah. Help all the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world, Afghanistan and Iraq and Africa, Middle East, Africa, Asia, Europe, America, inshallah. May Allah hasten and expedite the return of Imam Zaman with his salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Brothers, if you want to stand for Fatemiyyah. Upon our lips, Nuran, Qadran, Kawtharan, Taha, the dhikr of lovers of Murtada, Tasbihat Sayyida Zahra. Upon our lips, Nuran, Qadran, Kawtharan, Taha. Upon our lips, Nuran, Qadran, Kawtharan, Taha. The dhikr of lovers of Murtada, Tasbihat Sayyida Zahra, Tasbihat Sayyida Zahra. Allahu Akbar, Lady Fatima. Allahu Akbar, daughter of Nabi. Allahu Akbar, Lady Fatima. Allahu Akbar, daughter of Nabi. Allahu Akbar, she gave everything, standing for truth in the path of Ali. Sallallahu alayk ya Fatima. 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 Sallallahu alayk. روی لبها نور و قدر و کوثر و طه، ذکر نورانی عاشقها، تسبیحات حضرت زهرا. الله اکبر این همه جلال، الله اکبر این همه شکوه، الله اکبر در راه علی. فاطمه ایستاده مثل یکو. صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه. صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه. I know that these tears will guide me to the straight road. For me the path will be shown by Tasbihat Sayyida Zahra. Tasbihat Sayyida Zahra. Alhamdulillah, you have guided me on the path of Wilayat Ali. Alhamdulillah, you have guided me on the path of Wilayat Ali. Alhamdulillah, you have prayed for me to be a soldier of your son Mahdi. Sallallahu alayk ya Fatemah. Sallallahu alayk ya Fatemah. میدونم که راز شهادت این اشکا رنگ خدا میگیرم من با تسبیحات حضرت زهرا. الحمدلله که نوکرتم، الحمدلله که مادرمی، الحمدلله که نوکرتم، الحمدلله که مادرمی، الحمدلله از بچگیام مادر سایه روی سرمی. صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه. From the sorrow of your grief we have shed tears. From the sorrow of your grief we have shed tears. After every prayer for years, with tasbihat Sayyida Zahra, tasbihat Sayyida Zahra. Subhanallah, there's fire at the door. Subhanallah, Zahra is on the floor. Subhanallah, there's fire at the door. Subhanallah, Zahra is on the floor. Subhanallah, even though they swore allegiance to Ali, they come to war. Sallallahu alayk ya Fatemah. Sallallahu alayk ya Fatemah. Sallallahu alayk. از غصه ها چشم عاشقا شده دریا. روزه بعد نماز ما تسبیحات حضرت زهرا. سبحان الله، باغ بهشت و دود. سبحان الله، از لحظه ورود. سبحان الله، باغ بهشت و دود. سبحان الله، از لحظه ورود. سبحان الله، پیش چشم علی آیه های کوثر شده کبود. صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه. صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه. لا إله إلا الله، لا إله إلا الله محمدا رسول الله لا اله الا الله عليا ولي الله عليا ولي الله عليا ولي الله ناد علي يا مظهر العجائب ناد علي تجدون لك في النوائب كل هم وغم سينجلي كل هم وغم سينجلي بعظمتك بعظمتك بنبوتك بنبوتك بولايتك علي 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 اللهم صل على فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها بعدد ما أحاط به علمك اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقاعدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Taqabbal Allah, inshallah, amalakum. Inshallah, Allah accepts our majalis. At your service, if there's any questions, I'll be here, inshallah, from brothers and sisters. If there's anything they want to talk about or anything that they want to know. And don't be shy or anything. Go ahead and ask your questions. If Google's close to us, I can look it up really quick and search it, inshallah. But if not, then we'll wait till next, inshallah. Take us, say salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. May Allah bless you and your families for joining the majalis of Bibi Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. Please make sure to remember each other, remember the beloved of each other in your da'as in these next nights. Bihaqqi Fatima Zahra, May all of your hajat and those of your loved ones be fulfilled, inshallah, by Allah. Please let people know, communicate to people, let them know about the majalis that we are having. Our beloved Sayyid Abbas Razavian, so they can benefit from the program, inshallah. We are going to be having programs tomorrow as well as Saturday, inshallah. Please also make sure that you make dua for and recite Fatiha for the sponsors of the programs, inshallah, and their loved ones as well. Bi Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Salawat.